to my channel. I am the Grim Reader, and this is the very last one for the last year, the last Grimm Chronicles for 2021. We're already in 2022. Happy New Year, everyone! But I'm a little behind all the time, and I wanted to give you an update on what I've been reading since last time I spoke with you. Let's see. So I have finished two things. I finished the Farside of the World. So I went back. I had set it aside because I kind of was a bit sick of them all, the Aubrey Maturin novels, but I came back to it, and I'm glad I did it. For one thing, it was fairly quick to finish it, and I had missed a lot of interesting things happening. So this is number 10 in the series written by Patrick O'Brian, whom, as I gather, was not a very nice person. I did a little bit of research. If any of you have read a biography of him, I've found out that I'm actually not that interested in reading a biography of him because he doesn't sound like he was a nice person. But he did leave these wonderful series of novels, so, you know, we have those. And Farside of the World wasn't as bad as I remembered it, but I still contend that some of the magic of the core sort of the central relationship of the novels is the you know, complex relationship between Jack Aubrey, the captain, English, and Dr. Maturin, the Irish, somewhat Spanish, I guess, Catalan, I don't know, some other place he's from. And he's very interesting, and he, I don't know, even though they go through some adventures that I had missed last time, when they end up on a ship with Polynesian women, which was sort of interesting. I mean, it's very, you know, from the English perspective, I guess, but it was still kind of interesting. And Maturin sort of is a stand-in for someone who is highly critical of the English enterprise. So at least we have that, being non-English, and sort of, and also not a seafaring person. He's not a sailor at all. And some things happen to him. He's sick in the end, and it's a little bit of a quick resolution to that. I thought it was a little too handy, but kind of funny too. There is humor in these books. So yeah, if you're into this sort of seafaring, some people are not into the whole boats and ships and British Navy stuff, and it's good times if you are. And the other thing I finished is this strange little book. So it's from England. I ordered it. Stagdale by Frances Castle, who I don't know if that's her real name, probably. And she has set up her own record label in 2011. I'm reading here. So what you do is you read the little comic book, which takes even someone like me very little time, and then you. Sorry, it's getting too hot in here, even for cold Kathy. And then you listen to the very enchanting, sort of slightly haunting, but still very melodious music that she's written. And then you read this little comic book or graphic novel for I mean, I think it is sort of meant for maybe younger folks. I do like the illustrations a lot. I'll show you some of them. And so I was sort of enchanted by the music, and I thought, what the heck, I'll go get the book. And it's a very quick read about this young girl. It takes place in 1975, so it has a kind of retro feel to it, her outfits and stuff. And she moves to this new place, and sort of it's a little bit just about her moving in and finding out sort of some stuff about where she lives. She's moved to a village, a remote village, no less. And what's funny about the book is that it's so quick to read, and then you get to the end, and it says to be continued, and so of course I had to go and order part 2. So that's coming, and that also has music to go with it. And I'll put the links in the show notes to this enchanting little tale and this interesting music. I like the music. That's kind of, the music was what got me in, and then I thought, well, this is kind of cute with the story. I kind of like the idea of intertwining graphic stuff with music. So highly recommend this if you're interested in this could be a gift for a young person or anyone who's interested in graphic design or graphic art, graphic novels. It's very, very quick read. It doesn't take you a long time to read it, but it is kind of have fun looking at the interesting pictures. I like the style. I like the style. So that was the other thing that I was able to finish. That was like my 39th book. It's not really a book, but we're gonna count it as book. It's like a graphic short story. Hey, it's a book. It's in 2 covers. When is a book a book? So moving on into things that I have continued with first. And well, I'll come back to, sorry to be a bit flustered here. So the one big thing that I'm still continuing with is Ms. McIntosh, My Darling. And I will continue with everything until I have to stop because of busyness. And by stop, I mean set aside. I don't think I'll give up or anything, but I may have to set it aside. And I'm sort of hopeful that with this kind of long endeavor, which really could take me years, because it is over 1,000 pages long and it is slow reading, that because it's not plot heavy and it's really just sort of, I'm going to give you an example of the prose. I'll read out at least one sentence from this work that I found, just to give you sort of a sampling of what we're dealing with here. But I mean, the plot is really just this narrator, female narrator, who knows what the relationship is to the author. Maybe there's overlap with the author. I mean it is from the author's brain. and so she is on a bus going to Iowa to look for her nursemaid / governess / nanny, and that is Miss McIntosh. And she loved her because it's titled Miss McIntosh My Darling. She had warm feelings towards this lady, this very strange lady. I said on Twitter, she reminds me of a mashup between Mary Poppins and Emerence from The Door, because she does. I mean, there is a level of wacky stuff in here, or another word could be Kafkaesque. You know, the way people are described and the strange coincidences, for example. Anyway, but just to go back to the plot, so she's on this bus going to try and track down Miss McIntosh, and apparently she's already tried before to track her down, I think. And then we get a sort of going back to the other main character. One of the main characters is her mother. So I think the narrator's name is Vera Cartwheel, and her mother is, I don't know, I think maybe Catherine Cartwheel, and her mother is very strange. Her mother is the quote-unquote horizontal person in that she is in an opium days throughout probably most of the novel. And so what we get when we there's a chapter 2 is the mother's chapter, so to speak, and then the sort of surreal aspects kind of really take over because of the opium issue. The fact that we are kind of getting her, it's the way she kind of thinks is described to us, you know, as if she were in an opium haze. And so the writing gets very, very surreal and kind of dreamlike, I would say. What is dream? What is real? There are a lot of sort of deliberations on what is reality, what is unreal, what is real, what is why is the real like a dream, and things like that. My mother, for example, here, I'm trying to find the beginning of chapter 2. I should put tabs in for each of the chapters, because the first chapter wasn't that long. I mean, this is a book that has at least, I think, 60 or so chapters. Yeah, there's chapter 2. My mother was oblivious to the realities of flesh and blood, those creatures of chance, apparently, even to Miss McIntosh, loudmouth though she was. Unimaginative, no possible rival in the world of invisible dreams, etc., etc. So yeah, that's the mother. And then in the 3rd chapter, now we're kind of getting the first introduction to Miss McIntosh. And then who knows where it's going to go from there for 1,000 pages. I don't really know, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm not reading even as much as I thought I would, but I do like what I read. And I'm excited because apparently there is an edition coming out that will be affordable for us all. So towards the end of the year, Dalkai Archive, which I thought had stopped publishing, but now they're coming back, I guess. I saw that on Orpheus's channel. And so yeah, that'd be great to get my own copy, because this is the library's copy that I'm trying not to mark up too much. No one has taken this out in a very long time, so I feel safe. It'd be funny if someone recalled it. I'd have to give it back. It's like, no, it's mine. You can't have it. I don't think it's going to happen. Anyway, so I had one sentence that I wanted to give you a real sense of what's going on here in terms of the writing. I have one sentence here that I'll read in a minute. So yeah, Margaret Young's 1965 novel that took her 18 years to write is an amazing undertaking. And I'll come back and read you this one sentence. I'll try and do it justice, you know. But before I do that, let me just go on with what else I'm reading. Ah, yes, The Leopard, which it's holding up enough that I'm not sick of it or anything with all this other stuff that I'm reading. But I do wonder always if it is suffering from the fact that I'm reading other things, and especially the other thing I'll tell you about in a minute, which is sort of taken over my brain, at least for now. We'll see. But I do like it. I think it's really good. It's such a funny book because it's sort of all chugging along with, I don't know when it's supposed to take place. Oh, I guess it's the 19th century, which isn't that long ago. The sort of slow fall of the nobility and the rise of the bourgeois or petit bourgeois in Sicily. But then all of a sudden he had this sort of little comment where this young girl comes over and whispers into his ear, "Uncle mine," and then it says so she leans over, murmured into his ear, "Uncle mine," a highly successful line, comparable in its perfect timing almost to Eisenstein's baby carriage, and which, explicit and secret as it was, set the prince's simple heart aflutter. So he takes this sort of image from a movie, you know, the famous baby carriage from Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin movie, and plugs it in there into this very sort of this 19th century scene, which it's like, oh, a little bit jarring, but he's doing that on purpose maybe. And so I guess what's happening a little bit is that it's very much from the leopard, the prince's, the autocrat, the patriarch's perspective. And maybe that's getting a little bit like, okay, I mean, and he's an interesting character. I mean, I like, he's complex enough for it to not be too off-putting, but he's also kind of annoying because he's the prince and he's like, he thinks he's better than everyone, and so, which he's not. And I guess Lampedusa is doing a very good job of showing us how he's not. So at least there's that. It's not like he's like on his side at all. I think it's the opposite. But we're sort of seeing all his idiosyncrasies, his weaknesses, his rationalizations, and all of that. And I do have to say that the women are kind of, their depictions they could be more interesting. Let's put it that way. They're a little bit, they're sketched in. Like the wife, we don't really get much of her. We don't even run her any of the women. And it's all very much the male gaze. It's how beautiful they are to these men. So yeah, that is the one thing that's pretty obvious here. Well, I mean, it's not too surprising, but you know, this is from this is not that much earlier than Miss Macintosh, which is kind of one of the things that is fascinating about Miss Macintosh is how timeless it does read as. It doesn't read, I mean, I guess it's sort of 60ish in the sort of hallucinatory or sort of the wacky stuff that's going on. But to me, the stuff about the house and whatever, it seems kind of free-floating, which is sort of interesting, and I like that. I like the timeless aspect of it. I think it's sort of, it almost seems more contemporary, and well, obviously because this is 19th century, but even from the way it's being told. And it is, of course, because it's a female narrator narrating mainly about her mother so far, and Miss Macintosh and a strange character called Mr. Spitzer. It's extremely female-centric. From it's all these women in their relationships. So it's a female-centric novel, and I really like that. And it's sort of maximalist, which is kind of unusual. You get Ulysses, you get whatever. What the other one I'm reading, I'll tell you in a minute. All but written by men. So good for her. Yay for Margaret Young for doing this. I think it's interesting. She's onto something. So the other thing that I was really, really hoping, and I even bought the book, which I won't, I'll even show it to you. So the other big hard book I really wanted to get to, and I will get to soon, is this one. 1 second. I had started watching the 3.5 hour leaf by leaf video about it. I really want to read Gravity's Rainbow at some point. And this is a brand new deckled edge, does that go with Gravity's Rainbow? I don't know. Penguin edition of it. But what has happened in the meantime is that book Twitter, specifically one lady who always does the most interesting read-alongs, like she said, she announced a read-along where if you want to, you can read Finnegan's Wake, not even Ulysses, but yes, the big one, the big hard one, the super hard one, Finnegan's Wake. And what's really good about it, but who knows how long I'll be able to do this, is that it's only a page a day. So if you're welcome to join in, I'll put it's really just hashtag Finnegan's Wake. And then if you do hashtag Finnegan's Wake and then click on latest, and if you're a tweeter or Twitterer, you'll see us all chatting away about the novel and page by page. Like we started on the 1st, and so this is going to take us, if we are able to hold through with this crazy project, it's going to take us 600 and wait for it, 28 days. And there's so what's heartening to me about this project is the communal aspects are kind of fun, and I don't really know these people, except now I'm getting to know some of them a little bit. But I would say before I had started, I had looked into this a couple of times and just kind of given up. And because I've sort of looked at stuff on the web, and there's so much on the web, there are people who are weirdly obsessed with Finnegan's Wake, perhaps even more than Ulysses. And I think it's because it's such a challenge. And also you get the sort of the super Irish people who think they know everything because they know about Irish stuff, which, maybe they do more than I do. The thing about this novel is that there's so many languages. There's quite a bit of German, as you know, and of course Latin and Celtic, Irish, but also just sort of Joycean language. He makes up stuff, and he's anyway, there's a lot going on. As people who've even touched upon this novel know, there's a lot going on in Finnegan's Wake. But I would say, what I was trying to say is that, before I didn't really have any knowledge about what was going on, what it's all about. And now I really feel like I don't have a clear sense of what it's about. I still don't have that. Sort of. It's the wake, and they're there, and they're talking. And it's connected to this old Irish folk song about Tim Finnegan, who I'll put a link to. I've been listening to versions of the song, Finnegan's Wake, where I guess the story is that he fell down off of his ladder, and they thought he was dead, and then they put whiskey and Guinness next to him, and somehow some whiskey sloshes over his face, and he reawakens. I think that's the deal. So there's sort of, as you can see, there's sort of resurrection, whatever. There's a lot of biblical stuff going on. And so Joyce uses that tale as, to go off and write a 628 barely readable novel about it. Trust Joyce. And he took 17 years to write this, and she took 18 years for her novel. So these maximalist people, and this is very hard. This is just it's hard because it's hard to sort of discern the plot. So I would say for the majority of folks out there, this is probably not going to be enjoyable. I'm just going to say that. It wasn't enjoyable to me, and even now it's enjoyable in the sense of I'm just kind of letting myself go, and I do think the language is kind of beautiful, and you do kind of get to where you sort of understand it a little bit better after a while, if you sort of fall into the sing-songy. A lot of people talk about the oral aspects of it, and I do think what's interesting when I go back to what I said before about what is a book, it's as if he's tried to encapsulate a certain type of orality, the singing, this sort of proclaiming. So it's very, very interesting prose. I mean, it's not unrelated to Ulysses, but it's like all of the most wacky parts of Ulysses. It's 628 pages of that. And so one thing I know, some of you might know about Finnans Wake, but one thing that we have talked about, or people have mentioned and found out, is how if you look at the very end, spoiler alert, whatever, I mean, it ends, and it says, and it just ends, away alone, away alone, a lost, a loved, along the, you go back to the beginning of the book, river run past Eve and Adams from the swerve of the shore of the bay. So the end is, it ends on the, and then the next word is the beginning of the novel. So the circular kind of aspect of Finnegan's Wake are kind of in there, but it's part of the structure. And apparently it was very, very, Joyce spent a lot of time with the structure of the novel. So, you know, fun times ahead. And because it really is only a page a day, you can sort of just look at the page, and it's like reading a poem a day, you know, a poem. Another hashtag that people are using for this is Joyce every day. So you can sort of, like, it took me a little while to figure out that FADO, some people are probably better at this than I am. FADO, graph, is photograph. And like he'll do this thing where was it? He talks about dusty Fidelios with their deep brow fundigs and the dusty Fidelios, which turns out to be Adestus Fidelius, like Come All Ye Faithful. So he'll turn something into, he'll rechristen something like a different phrase or funny phrase, and you know, that turns into Dusty Fidelios, which is kind of funny. It's kind of hilarious. There's a lot of really funny stuff here too, which goes with the sort of the Irish, I guess. Good times ahead for me with this, which means, well, we'll see how this goes. I mean, I can't say I'm completely committed, because, you know, two years down the line, who knows, 628 days, who knows where we'll be. And even Miss Macintosh, I mean, I want to, but I'm fully aware that a couple of weeks down the line, I will, who knows what we'll be with teaching these days, but, you know, things are going to be, I won't have as much time to give, or headspace to give to these difficult texts. So you think that may be enough of reading, but what does Kathy do in the meantime? Since she's finished the Farside of the World, she decides that, so here's what happened with the audiobook. This is my audiobook now at the end here. Sorry, guys. I'll try to wrap it up quickly. But then I also wanted to read you a sentence. Sorry. So I started something that, what's the name of the channel? Claire Reads. She liked the author Guy K. something, Caviel. And I started his first book. And I hated it. It was really bad. Sorry, the style was just nothing for me. And so I said, what the heck? I'm going to go back to Stephen Erickson, because at least I know I like the style. I mean, I kind of got more into the plot this time. I mean, I wanted to pay more attention to the plot, you know. So, but this is book 3 of the Malazan Empire. So it's called, what's it called? Memories of Ice. The titles are always so throwaway. Gardens of the Moon, Dead House Gates, Memories of Ice. It's like, whatever, just make up a title. And this is 45 hours long, guys. And even if you just start on one of the Malazan wikis, of course there are Malazan wikis, just as there are Finnegan Wake wikis. The plots are just ludicrously complex. I mean, it's just whatever. What is going on here? But you kind of go with it, and it's well told, and it's very exciting, and you get sucked into this world, and that's kind of what I want when I'm doing my chores. It's just this. But what I've done now is I decided I do want to have a text in front of me sometimes. So I went ahead and ordered. They're just these mass market paperback. It's going to be another brick of a book, because it's apparently that's all I read these days. I don't know. It's a phase. So that's my audio, and that will be my audio for a long time. But, I like it. I like it. So what can I say? I like it much better than the other book, and I didn't feel like another Maturin one. I wanted to go back somewhere else, and so I decided to come. And what's interesting about the Eriksons is they're unrelentingly dark, and I still like them. There's a lot of sort of the violence and the darkness is sort of, it's very much there, but it's also kind of distanced, because it's like creatures and gods, and it's on, it's fantasy, so it's not like it's happening here. So there is a kind of remove, even though it is very, very violent, and to all different types of beings, but it's sort of muted somehow. I can't explain it very well. So now I'm at 25 minutes and I haven't even read you my sentence. I'm always wondering if I should stop and make a short about it. I think that might be what I'll do. I'll make a short video just about some of the choice sentences, or just a couple. Maybe it won't be very long. So I'll end it here. 25 minutes is more than enough. Thank you all for watching. What are you all reading? I hope to be done with the Leopard by next week, because I sure as hell won't be done with anything else, considering I'm reading Finnans Wake and Miss Macintosh. But yeah, thank you for joining me on this wacky journey of what Kathy Grimm reads, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.